Sup everyone, Dom here, and this is a follow-up to my last tutorial, which was telling you how to draw a manga page and telling you all about the important aspects of drawing the page and inking it. And in this tutorial, I'm gonna show you how to tone it. There are a lot of different ways to tone it. You can do it digitally, you can do it with pencils, with paints, screen tones, markers, loads of different ways, and you know, there's loads of different effects, and it all depends on what kind of effect you want to get. I'm gonna show you three different approaches today. The first one that you're looking at right now is the watercolor ones, which is one of the paint approaches, and I think one of the most popular paint approaches if you're using paint, because using thick paints on manga pages is kind of defeats the purpose of inking the whole picture first, and I don't know, just doesn't seem like a smart idea to me. Then I'm going to move on to digital inking, and I'm going to show you a smart little technique when you do simple simple flat tones or simple gradients, and then change them into texture looking like thing that looks like it was painted with a marker, or into that little dotted screen tone, that very simple one. Okay, so as you can see, I use dry brush effect for the background in satin and very simple light shades. Pretty much the same is gonna be going on with Ishida. You know, exaggerating the light source of those three circles by putting some shadow behind them. And now we're working with the shadow on Ishida. It's a very complicated one because the light source is coming from three different sides. It's kind of weird to paint, but I think I managed okay. It's not perfect, but it's okay. I think I'll be soon moving on to the eyes. And on the eyes, I'm not shading the eyes themselves because I don't want them to lose impact. I'm trying to imply even more impact into the whole thing by, instead of doing speed lines like I was planning to, doing tones, basically a gradient of tones with sharp edges to suggest the kind of impact, you could say. And I don't know, maybe the impact suggested by, I don't know, like the light coming off their faces or something. You see a lot of manga anyways, on the eye close-ups. The same for Ishida and Satin. And in the last panel, I think it's only with watercolors that I'm gonna go into it, because on the digital I just didn't seem very good idea to go with digital tones. As you can see, I'm darkening all the backgrounds, and the reason to do that is kind of obvious, is to make the whole cloud thing stand out even more. And I'm gonna also darken in and create some more texture on the boulder that Satin is hiding behind, to make it look, I don't know, not that much more 3D, because 3D is not the effect I'm going for right now. More kind of separated into planes, separate Satin out more from the whole fire and everything. And as you can see, the ink smears a lot in this picture, because what I'm using right here is a photocopy, which wasn't a very smart idea, but I just couldn't be bothered tracing the whole picture over and inking it over again. Right, so finish the watercolors, going on to the digital now, choosing my tones, and I'm gonna just lay down some flat tones on Satin, some flat tones on Ishida, and I think simple gradients on the eyes. As you can see, I'm doing that right now, suggesting the shadow on the metal things by doing those kind of, how would you explain it? Because the metal is so light in this picture, I'm only doing one line of shadow, but I usually would go in really deep and will create the effect. Basically metal, to suggest metal you have to do a lot of contrast. That's what defines metal, contrast. And a lot of it, basically black and white next to each other. And again, just going around Ishida's circle, trying to make the spikes, not spiky strokes you could say, for more impact. And then just some simple shading on Ishida himself, just flat tones, no fancy working, because remember, if you go into fancy shading, the techniques I'm about to show you, at least one of the techniques I'm about to show you, will not work. using the select tool and the gradient, and that's the only way that the other technique I'm going to show you is going to work on the gradient, because otherwise it will just kind of turn into a big mess. As you can see, finishing off, making it look spiky and everything. Doesn't really work out that well, does it, on the tablet, because you kind of have to walk this way around and it's a bit weird. Usually I would flip the page round to do it. Obviously the same thing on the other side. I think I was using a bit too light of a brush, wasn't I? Right, now I'm slowing the video down, and as you can see I already done this marker effect, and now I'm going to show you how I achieved that. But before, you have to know where to go, which menus, and I think I'm sorry showing right now. Yes, you go onto image, you go onto mode, and you have to make sure it's in grayscale. Then you go to filter, you go to noise, you add noise, but you have to make sure it's in grayscale before you do that, and then you play around with the noise. And after you stop messing around with the noise, you go into filters again, you go on blur, and you do gauge and blurs, and you blur it until you have the effect that you desire. And the second example I'm going to show you is the screen tones example, delete the dotted ones. Now how you do that is by going to filter once again, filter, go into, I didn't select the layer now, go on, select the layers, there we go, filter, pixelate, and color halftone, and you have to make sure it's in this red settings, channel 108, and the other channels whatever. You can control the maximum radius of the darkest of the balls. I suggest going for a 4/8 maximum. Here's what happens when I go to an 8 from what I have here. Obviously could work because the page is going to get shrunk, but I don't like it, so I'm going to go over and take it back. So basically that's how you do it. Nice and simple, nothing complicated about it. As you can see, little dots off to pixelate and blur to make lovely textures. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you took something out of it, and if you did, please give me the old thumbs up. Thank you for watching.